can you be? Because they're trying to accuse somebody of inconsistency. How can you think? So the first one is, and people miss this by sometimes by ignoring it, and sometimes by switching the two. Okay? How can you think abortion's okay and you think the death penalty is not okay? And the answer to that is, it's not inconsistent to think those two things. You can think abortion's okay because you think fetuses aren't persons. You can think the death penalty is not okay because even criminals are persons. Or because the death penalty is too expensive. Or because it's applied in a racially biased way, which is actually true. You're much more likely to get the death sentence if you're black than if you're white. They're doing the same kind of crime. As long as people are allowed to make the decision about whether the death penalty is awarded, those biases creep in. So you can think abortion's okay because you think fetuses aren't persons. You can think the death penalty is not okay because you think it's too expensive, or it leads to errors, or because it's applied in a racially inappropriate way or unequal way, etc. Or just because you think we shouldn't kill persons, and even murderers are persons. Okay, the second one goes like this. How can you think that the death penalty is okay and the abortion is not okay? Or usually it would be, how can you think abortion is not okay when you think the death penalty is okay? You can think abortion is not okay because you think fetuses are persons. You can think the death penalty is okay because murderers are guilty. Fetuses aren't. Not inconsistent. No two positions on the death penalty and abortion are inconsistent. You've got four possibilities. You can think they're both okay, both not okay, or either one of these combinations. They're all fine. And they might be, might be wrong, but they're not inconsistent.
Wait, can you just repeat that last one?
This one? Abortion okay, not okay, death penalty okay? The idea is that they're saying, if you're against abortion, how come you're for the death penalty, right? How come you think the death penalty is okay? I thought you were pro-life, something like that, right? So the answer is, I can think that the death penalty is okay because murderers are guilty, and abortion is not okay because fetuses are innocent. It's consistent. Patty? Good. Yeah, this is one that has two sides. Okay, it has a good side. Because what it means is that abortion shouldn't be used, people are saying it shouldn't be used in place of other forms of birth control. So if you try to use birth control, but it fails, that's one thing. But if you're just reckless, and then you just want to have an abortion afterwards, that's not okay. Or people will say, the first one's okay, but if you've had 3 or 4, that's not okay. What I want to know is why the first one would be okay, but the fourth one not okay. If the fetus is a person, then even the first one isn't okay. If the fetus is not a person, then why not have as many as you want? That's the worry I have about that.
Okay, what's the good side?
The good side, however, is that if what you're saying is you're concerned about the cost, financial or psychological or medical, of having abortions, that's a perfectly good reason to think that abortion should be a last resort. So if I were advising a woman, about her reproductive life, I would say, get birth control. Don't rely on abortion. Why not? Because birth control is a lot cheaper. It's not as medically risky as abortion. It's not as psychologically difficult as abortion. Not as painful as abortion, etc. Those are all good reasons to prefer using other forms of birth control to abortion. But concern about the fetus isn't. The idea that somehow if you're careless and you get pregnant, you shouldn't be allowed to have one. Right? Then it's not okay to have one because you should have been more careful. If it's killing babies, you're not allowed to have it no matter how careful you are. Unless Thompson's right, which I'm going to try to show you she isn't. About that second part. If it's not killing babies, then you can have as many as you want. And you remember when I talked about this, I used the distasteful but effective analogy of the flies in the screen door. Right? So if I have a screen door in my house, but a fly gets in anyway, most people think it's okay to swat it. Suppose I recklessly leave my screen door open for 10 minutes and a dozen flies come in. Is it now wrong to kill the 12th one but not the first one? They're flies. Either you think it's okay to kill them, in which case it's okay to kill 12 of them just as much as one, or it's not okay to kill any of them. It can't be that it's okay to kill the first one but not the 12th one because I was reckless. I was reckless with something most of us think doesn't have any moral status. You think that about the fetus, as many abortions as you want. Seems morally permissible. If you don't think that, the fetus is a person, then why wouldn't one be all right? What else? Selena?
Can we talk about 1B? A fetus is certainly a potential person, and
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we haven't done that one yet, but I will say something about it now. The idea is this: a potential person means something that's not a person yet. Okay? But will be one if you leave it alone for long enough, right? Under the right circumstances. In the way that you are a potential college grad, try getting a job with your potential college degree. You don't have it yet, right? And if you're a potential person, you don't have personhood yet. So, to put it a little grossly, if that were true, then people who want to have abortion should hurry up and do it before the fetus becomes a person and has a right to life. Well, it doesn't have a right to life. And that actually doesn't seem unreasonable to me. It sounds a little, creepy. But if you think that a fetus in the beginning is just nothing like a person, but at the end it turns into a person, then if you want to have an abortion, you should do it before it turns into a person. Potential person is, and we're using the terminology anyway, not a person yet. That doesn't mean that there aren't clever and sophisticated arguments about its moral status that suggest that it is a person from the beginning because of its potential. Because it has the same genetic code as the rest of us or something like that. Anti-abortion people might try to do that. But at least at the prima facie level, it seems really weird to think that a potential person as being something that isn't a person yet, but would be one eventually, means that we shouldn't kill it now, because being a person is something that you shouldn't, is being something that you shouldn't kill, and it's not that yet.
so what kind of argument would that be? Like,
Which
it's not
one?
inconsistent and it's not hardship, but would it be considered something else?
No, I don't know. It's just that I don't have a name for it. It's just that if by potential person you mean something that isn't a person yet, doesn't have a right to life yet, then it is inconsistent then to say that because it doesn't have a right to life, it has a right to life. I guess it is inconsistency, right? Now, people who use that language might not mean the same thing by person and potential that you and I do, in this class, the context of this class. Okay, but if somebody means, it doesn't have a right to life yet, but it will soon, so we shouldn't kill it now, then they're being inconsistent. What else? No, I don't think so. We will on Tuesday.
Okay.
What am I going to say about it? I'm going to say, if a fetus is a person, you're never old enough to kill it. Right? The fact that somebody is old enough biologically to have babies doesn't mean that she's old enough to kill children. As a child, you can't kill it no matter how old you are. If it's not, then your age is hardly relevant. Old enough to own slaves. Old enough to decide whether to own slaves or not. Right? Old enough to keep slaves in their place. Old enough to own slaves. That's just gross. I'm sick of it. More on number one? Or should we move to one of the other questions? So if there are pieces that we haven't gone through in class, I will go through them on Tuesday because I've been keeping a record. So I was crossing stuff out. I'll bring that in with me. Let's turn to either question 2 or question 3. One is about moral realism and one is about Thompson. You ask, I'll answer. Just pick one and ask me a question about it, and we'll continue with that one until we're done. We've got about a half an hour for each, or 35 minutes for each. While you're thinking, I'll make the announcements I made before again. Because some of the material, on Tuesday, You're not responsible for anything we don't cover in class. On Tuesday, I'm going to cover the parts of the abortion nonsense list that we've just been going through that we didn't do in class already. The fact that we did it here in the review doesn't matter. I'm going to cover it anyway. So that'll be a review for you. I'm also going to finish Thompson. There's a few more things I want to say about Thompson. I want to argue that she's made a mistake here at this point. I've already started arguing that, but I've got a little more to say about it. And it's mostly going to be a lecture. Because prior to this review I haven't done that, it's possible that I'll hold another review session on Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening. I've just made a request for a room and I'm seeing whether I can get one or not. If I can, I'll probably get a second review and you're welcome to come to it. And I recommend you come to any review I ever hold, even if the same stuff gets said, because it's a very efficient way to study. After that, we'll go on to something else. We don't have that much time left in the semester, sadly. We may not cover everything on the syllabus, I never do, but we will do some more, and that means that your final probably won't be 3 questions like this one. This is probably the hardest test of all in terms of the amount of material that you're expected to master. If you haven't come and talked to me about your exam, before the exam comes is a good time to do it. If you're taking the exam at the test center or something like that, you should make sure that I've sent the test in. Don't just assume I have, because they don't always ask me for it. If they ask me, I'll try to make sure I get it in. That shouldn't be a problem. Some of you wanted to see me on Monday, and if you've written to me about that, I will try to write back to you tonight. But if you're worried that I've lost your email, which happens sometimes, write me again and say, need to see you. Tomorrow I have a medical test. I'm doing admitted students day in Allen tomorrow morning. First, then I go straight to the hospital to get a medical test done. I'm going to do a swallowing. And then I go see my doctor for my checkup and find out the results of that test if I'm lucky. So I won't be in the office till late in the day, probably something like between 2:15 and 2:30. I'm not just going to sit around waiting in case somebody shows up, but if you need an appointment, that's when I have time. It's from 2:15 or 2:30 on till about 5 or so. I'll have some time on Tuesday as well, I think, for our class. I could stick around after class on Tuesday to talk to people. You should make an appointment to do this if you want to see me then, because I won't just be sticking around waiting in the hopes that somebody will show up. There's no big deal about making an appointment. And then Wednesday I have lots of time and no tests that I know of, so I would be happy to talk to people then as well. And even Thursday morning, I think I have some time. But not much on Thursday morning, actually. I'm pretty sure I've got an appointment then too. So feel free to get in touch with me. And if I haven't answered you, I'm not ignoring you. I just get so much email that sometimes I lose track of things. I try to sort of mark them in red and get back to people. And tonight I'm going to go through and try to get back to people and make some appointments for tomorrow. But if I haven't, and you're nervous about it, just write to me again. So, hope to see you Monday in the subject line or something like that. I think I'm done with the little announcements. I'll give you a reading assignment after the test, or I'll send it to you, in email Wednesday or something like that, so you can start over the weekend. And I expect to get these back to you much faster than last time. If you've got a question about that, I would be glad to. What do I mean by refinements? Okay, so moral realism is roughly the view that there are moral facts. Facts about what's morally required, permitted, forbidden, etc. Facts about what's virtuous, what's vicious, etc. Okay? Moral realism, however, isn't the view that we know those facts.